Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuvannmelitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, all of you devotees, for giving me an opportunity to glorify Krishna through this Srimad Bhagavatam and just sharing the verse which you have given me. Yeah. 2:10:34. You all can see me now? See the verse number?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Ataparam Sukshmatamam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Anadimadya Nidhanam Nityam Vang Manasah Param Ataparam Sukshmatamam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Anadimadya Nidhanam Nityam Vang Manasah Param Ataparam Sukshmatamam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Anadimadya Nidhanam Nityam Vang Manasah Param Ataparam Sukshmatamam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Anadimadya Nidhanam Nityam Vang Manasah Param. Anybody would like to recite, please?
Ataparam Sukshmatamam.
Ataparam Sukshmatamam
Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam.
Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam
Adimadhya Nidanam.
Anadimadya Nidhanam
Nityam Van Manasha Param.
Nityam Vang Manasah Param. Any Matajis?
Ataparam Sushmatamam
Ataparam Sukshmatamam
Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam
Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam
Anadimatya Nidhanam
Anadimadya Nidhanam
Nityam Van Manasa Param.
Nityam Vang Manasah Param. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, now let's go to the it. Ataha, therefore, Param, transcendental, Sukshmatamam, finer than the finest, Avyaktam, unmanifested, Nirvisheshanam, without material features, Anadi, without beginning, Madhya, without an intermediate stage, Nidhanam, without end, Nityam, eternal, Vak, words, Manasaha, of the mind, Param, transcendental. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, beyond this gross manifestation is a transcendental manifestation, finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Therefore, it is beyond the limits of expression or mental speculation and is distinct from the material conception. I am coming to Naperville today, sometime during the day, and I am very happy to be with all of you this morning, and I am grateful for the opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. So, these couple of verses which we are all discussing today and tomorrow, I wanted to say a little bit about it, and then we will enter into purport line by line. We will read. And this little background that I will speak now will be helpful in appreciating the purport now. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 3 words used in one shloka: Param Jyoti, Sarvabhuta Guhavasam, Bhagavantam Adokshajam. So the absolute truth is understood in 3 phases. First, that's Param Jyoti, the great light. Sarvabhuta Guhavasam, the Lord residing in the heart of every living being as super soul. And Bhagavantam Adhokshajam, which means Bhaga, as soon as we hear the word Bhaga, it means Lord who is full in 6 opulences of Jnana, Bala, Ishwarya, Shakti, Teja, Virya, like that, all beauty, all knowledge, all strength, all fame, all beauty, like that, all the 6 opulences. Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasashriya, Jnana, Vairagya, Chapito, Shannam Bhagavatingana, Parasharamani said that. So, Bhagavantam, Adhokshajam means beyond the range of mundane senses. That Lord is called as Bhagavantam Adhokshajam. The personality of God is Sri Krishna. So these are the 3 levels of understanding. So Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example. If you're going in a train, first you see a mountain, green mountain, and from a distance looks like a cloud, very hazy, cloudy picture. When the train goes a little more nearer, then you see the greenery, the foliage, and trees and plants and shrubs and all that. When you go even more near, then you see there are cows and calves going up, coming down. There is a hut and some human beings are also living there. You get more details. It's not that these 3 are 3 different things we are talking. We are only talking of the same thing. But the same mountain observed from different distances gives you different amount of details about the mountain. Different amount of information about the mountain. Therefore, the absolute truth is called as a non-dual substance. Non-dual substance means whether it is Brahman or Paramatma or Bhagavan, it's one only. But it is seen in 3 levels of realization. So, like for example, the government of a country, then parliament where the prime minister is present, and the same prime minister at home, all 3 are one. Because the prime minister at home and prime minister at parliament is not much different, except that his attire may be different and the mood may be different. Similarly, no prime minister is independent of the government. He is interwoven with the government, and without him being on the background, the government cannot run. So all 3 we can say are one, at the same time different. So these 3 understandings of the absolute truth is given in one famous verse in the Bhagavatam. Vadanti tat-tat-pavidas tatpam yad-jnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavanati shabdyate. So any of us Vaishnava devotees, we should quote this verse. If any impersonalist meets us, we should tell them, this is the verse. Vadanti tat-tat-pavidas tatpam yad-jnanamadvayam. Advaya Jnana, what is it? Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavanati shabdyate. Brahmeti means the 3rd level of understanding is Brahman, then Paramatma, then Bhagavan. 3 levels of understanding. So now, probably can put the charger. My battery is getting over. So prior to these 3 understandings, you will see in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse which says, Jnana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekatvena pritatvena bahuda vishwato mukham. Three things are said. After talking about Mahatma devotees, Krishna says, apart from my own pure devotees, Krishna's pure devotees, he says that there are three categories of people, he says. Jnana yajnena cha api anye. Anye means my main people with whom I reciprocate love are pure devotees, but apart from that, there are other fellows, anye, he says. That means they are not very important as much as pure devotees are important for him. See, even all of you devotees in your life, you have some priorities. And those priorities are naturally things which you will pay attention and pay your energy, your time, your wholehearted absorption and all that you will do. And then apart from that, you also may do other things which are secondary or tertiary for you, which you may or may not do, and that's not your priority. Or sometimes you may delegate it to someone else. So, in the same manner, Lord is telling that Jnana yajnena cha api anye. Anye word is very important. Yajanto mamupasate. Those guys also worship me only, he says. But how do they worship me? He says, ekatvena, considering themselves to be one with me. That is the lowest understanding of the absolute truth. Considering Jiva and God to be one. It's called as Ishvara Jiva Aikya Jnana. That is actually Mayavada, impersonalism. We can even cite from Upanishads, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yuvadadati Kaman. Clearly the Upanishads talk about two Jiva, two personalities, Jiva and God. Both are eternal, both are conscious, but Lord is Eko and we are Bahunam. Lord is singular supreme, we are plural subordinates. Very clearly Shastras mentioned. Similarly, there is another verse which says that there are two birds sitting in a tree. Samani vrikshe purusho nimagno anisheshvachati mukhyamanaha. Samani vrikshe, in the same branch of the tree, there are two birds sitting. Silent bird and the fruit-eating bird. The fruit-eating bird eats sometimes a sweet fruit or a bitter fruit. Where a silent bird is just watching. That is Paramatma. So these are all coming in Upanishads. We are not quoting from Puranas. We are not quoting from Smritis. We are quoting from Shrutis. You can see Shruti also talks about two birds. It doesn't talk about one bird. The Shrutis also talk about singular, supreme, and plural subordinates. These are all verses which we can quote. Especially we can quote from Taittiriya Upanishad because there are certain Upanishads like Kena Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, Shveta Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Katha Upanishad. These are the Upanishads we should quote whenever anybody argues with us. Because in all these places, very clearly we can show the distinction between God and the soul through many such similar verses like this. Then you may have a question, if that is so, why the jnanis always argue about ekatvena, ekatvam? That ekatva word is used even in Ishopanishad also, ekatvam manupashyataha. One should see the oneness. Now in Bible also it is said, I and God are one. Jesus says this. Jesus says, I and God are one. But it doesn't mean that, father and son, you lump them up together and make one big lump of flesh. That is not one. When son says, Father and I are one, we are one in spirit. We are, like for example, father says, I will go to ISKCON and I will chant Hare Krishna. I will become a wonderful devotee. And he asks his son, what do you want to do better? And son also says, yes, you are also most. Son says, I will also follow you. I like to come. I also want to chant. I also want to become a devotee. I like it. Then the whole family goes to the ISKCON temple and they're chanting, dancing, taking prasad, rendering service. It's a very joyful family. They are one in spirit. That is the oneness we are talking about. Just like in orchestra, you see musical orchestra, the director is moving his hands and saying, now drums you play, now violin you play, now trumpet you play. So different people are told, and all the people have to play their respective instruments, and we call it as a crescendo. At the end, everybody plays together. It comes out very beautifully. Imagine if one person feels that he's telling violin to play, trumpet to play, not me. I'm sitting with the drums for half an hour. So let me beat the drum. I start beating, the whole music will be spoiled. We should only do when the master tells us. Similarly, if everybody aligns with Krishna, it's a very happy family. And when jivas don't align with Krishna and become independently enacted activities if they are doing, then that is not oneness. So the oneness is like, for example, there's a nation, there's a prime minister of the nation, and then he wants all the citizens to align themselves in one direction. He gives a vision and mission for the nation. That is also oneness in a nation. Similarly, oneness in a team. Or boating, for example. Imagine if there are 10 boatmen sitting for a boat race, they are doing 10 men are sitting in one boat. Imagine the first 5 are boating like this, and behind 5 are boating like this, the opposite side. Then the boat will never go ahead. The boat will be stuck in between. If all of them move the boat in the same manner, they have oneness in purpose. They are all, then that's going to be a winning team. So that is the kind of oneness. If a parrot enters a tree, the parrot experiences oneness with the tree because parrot is green, tree is green, everything looks green. But the parrot still has its identity, separate from the tree. Parrot is entering the tree not to be merged in the tree and lose its identity, but the parrot is entering the tree to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Similarly, we enter into the absolute truth, Vishate Tadanantaram. Bhagavad Gita says, why? To enjoy the loving reciprocation and enjoy that rasa exchange with Krishna. Raso vai saha rasam hi evayam lavdva anandi bhavati. This is Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad says, rasam hi evayam, having obtained the rasa from the Lord, anandi bhavati. Who becomes anandi? The jiva. So, and same Taittiriya Upanishad explains about the 5 levels, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. The Vijnanamaya, we only know about ourselves. I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. Whereas in Anandamaya, I am spirit soul, but the Lord is a supreme soul. And the loving affection between the soul and supreme soul is actually the main subject matter of all the Vedic literature. So, without awakening that love, imagining oneself to be God is foolishness, and that is actually Ekatvena, Prithaktvena, Bahuda, Pishutamukam. So the lowest category is Ekatvena. Then Prithaktvena, Bahuda means the second category of people say that as God is ultimately one impersonal entity, and then he manifests himself through multiple demigods. You can worship Shiva or Ganesha or Indra, Chandra, Kartikeya, or Krishna, Vishnu, anybody you can worship. Like that, some Hindus say like that. That is Prithaktvena, Bahuda. And therefore, these people do Panchopasana, beginning with, they're called Shaurya, worshipping Surya, Shakta, worshipping Shakti, Durga, Shaivas, worshipping Shiva, Ganapatyas, worshipping Ganesha, and finally, Vaishnava, worshipping Vishnu. That Vaishnava and our Vaishnava is not same. There, they consider all the 5 deities are just temporary manifestations of one supreme impersonal entity, Brahman, for the sake of getting concentration or focus. So that is a very offensive approach to imitation Bhakti Yoga. It is not real Bhakti Yoga. I remember when I was a small boy, in my home, my father brought Ganesha for Ganesha Chaturthi. So I also decorated Ganesha with nice flowers from the garden. I used to have a garden of jandu flowers. I brought it and I decorated very nicely. And we offered modakam, nice laddu type of thing. And within a week, when we are offering all these things, naturally you develop respect for Ganesha. You bow down to him and all that. Ganesha, Charanam, Charanam, Ganesha, we used to sing and all that. And after 1 week, they said, now we are going to Visarjan. We are going to put Ganesha into the water. And I was wondering, I asked, why? We are worshipping him. Why don't you continue worshipping him? They said, no, this is what we have been taught. We have to dubuk, throw it into the water. So I cried, such a beautiful Lord. Why do you put him in the water like this? So now this is not only with Ganesh. Same thing they do with Durga also. During that, Durga Puja, 10 days. Yeah. So at that time I got a question, what kind of worship is this, which is a temporary worship, which has no eternal connection? Later on, when I came to Prabhupada's books, I could clearly understand that this is Panchopasana, which is instituted by Shankaracharya, which is actually a Mayavadi, impersonalism. You just take these temporary demigods and then you climb on their heads to attain Brahmajyoti and merge in God and become God. What kind of respect is this? If I use you, any one of you, as a temporary, connection for getting something else through you, what will be your respect for me? Is it not just a motivated thing? I hated that process. I didn't like it. I thought that if somebody is a master, he should be my eternal master. Who is that master? So I was searching that. At last we could come to this verse. Vedahametam purusham mahantam aditya varanam tamasa parastat tam eva vidvanati mrityumeti na anjapanta vidyate ayanaya. This verse says that Supreme Lord's body is glowing like sun, and he is a Purushottama, he is not impersonal. Tam eva vidvanati mrityumeti. By knowing him alone, you can transcend death. Na anyapanta, there is no other way, for attaining ultimate perfection of transcending death. Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram, amongst all the 33 crore devatas, he is the supreme. Tam Devatanam Paramam Cha Devatam, amongst all the devatas, he is the ultimate. Among all control is supreme controller. Patim Patinam, leader of all leaders. He says like that. Yasmat Param Na Paramasti Kinchit, beyond him there is no other truth. He says. Yasman Nanyo Jo Yosti Kinchit. He is the smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Vriksha Stabdo, he stands in the spiritual world like original tree, of which the material world is an upside down tree. Vriksha Stabdo Dvidishtatyekaste Nedam Purnam Purushena Sarvam. That word hit me hard because Purnam Purushena. He is not ordinary Purusha. What Purusha? Purnam Purusha. Now, who is Purna Purusha? I started inquiring. And I found out that Lord Rama is called Maryada Purushottama. Vishnu is called Leela Purushottama. Krishna is called Purna Purushottama. So this Upanishadic verse talks about Krishna only. Because Tenedam Purnam Purushena Sarvam, it says. So similarly in Bhagavatam also it says Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranite Amale Apashyan Purusham Purnam Mayam Chatatapashrim Purnam. That means whether we didn't see Vishnu or Rama or anybody, he saw Krishna only. Apashyan Purusham Purnam Mayam Chatatapashrayam. So therefore, this Purna Purushottama is Krishna. He is the absolute truth. From the Shruti mantras only I am quoting till now. You can see that only one Bhagavatam I quoted just now. So you can see that we can get very inspired by these wonderful verses to understand that how the Pritaktva Bahuda is also cheating, worshipping different demigods. And then comes Vishwatomukham. Vishwatomukham is what was explained in this chapter, which is the Virat Purusha. Now, who is Virat Purusha? When this universe is created, all the material substances are present in the body of the Virat Purusha. Sun and moon are his eyes, mountains are his bones, trees are his hairs in his body, the birds chirping is his smile, and his closing and opening of the eyes is like the daytime and the nighttime. Front is the religion, backside is the religion, the ocean is his navel, and camels and mules and horses, they are like the nails. So all these things are explained about the Virat Purusha. Now Virat Purusha is a material form of the Lord. Now why Lord is showing a material form to you instead of beautiful Shyam Sundar form of Krishna? Because you are also, you can see that in this world the Jiva is also hiding behind the spirit and a material covering. Like we have put a material covering for enjoying independently. So Lord also does not show his Shyam Sundar form. He is showing material covering, material form of the Virat Purusha. He shows that. And when we are ready to do Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, we cast away all our material gross and subtle coverings and see him with love, then he will show his Shyam Sundar form to us at that time. But one important thing Prabhupada says, this material form of the Virat Purusha is superior to the understanding of impersonal Brahman. Instead of thinking God to be just merely impersonal, one comes to the personal form. So instead of Ekatvena, one comes to the Virat Purusha form. Because you get amazed by the Virat Purusha form and you want to bow down to him. Sarvata Panipadam Tat Sarvatokshi Shiromukam Sarvata Shrutiman Loke Sarvam Avritti Tishtati. That was, and also this Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. This verse says he has thousands of hands, thousands of legs, thousands of eyes. Now somebody may say, if he has 1,000 hands, then eyes should be, like 1,000 legs, you are saying. And eyes should be two eyes. We should say that 1,000 into 2,000 eyes, we should say. No. He says that thousands of eyes, thousands of hands, thousands of legs. So in that form he appears in Vishwarupa, Vishwarupa and Virat Rupa form he appears like that, which he also manifests to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra in the 11th chapter of the Gita. So that is like a godless display of opulence, as Prabhupada says in the one of the purports. Devotees are not attracted to that form of the huge form of thousands of hands and legs. But that is especially for the impersonalists. Okay, you worship that form, at least begin with that form reverentially, and then slowly can come to the Paramatma form. And then Bhagavan understanding. That's the point. So now let's go back to the purport now with this understanding. One of you can read it, please. The gross external body of the Supreme is manifested at certain intervals, and thus the external feature or form of the Supreme Personal of Godhead is not the eternal form of the Lord, which has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Anything which has a beginning, interim, and end is called a material. The material world is begun from the Lord, and thus the form of the Lord before the beginning of the material world is certainly transcended to the finest or the finer material conception. The ether in the material world is considered to be the finest. Finer than ether are the mind, intelligence, and false ego. But all 8 of the outward coverings are explained as outer coverings of the absolute truth. The absolute truth is therefore beyond expression and speculation of the material conception. He is certainly transcendental to all material conceptions. This is called Nirvisheshanam. One should not, however, misunderstand Nirvisheshanam as being without any transcendental qualities. Visheshanam means qualities. Therefore, Nir added to it means he has no material qualities or variegatedness. This nullifying expression is described in 4 transcendental qualifications, namely unmanifested, transcendental, eternal, and beyond the conception of mind or word. Beyond the limits of word means negation of the material conception. Unless one is transcendently situated, it is not possible to know the transcendental form of the Lord. Very important point. You see, even our Gajendra Moksha prayers, Gajendra is telling, Na vidyate yasya janma karma va, na nama rupe guna dosha eva va, tatapi lokapya sambhavayaya, swamayaya tanyanukalam richati. He is saying that, Na vidyate yasya janma karma va. Lord has no janma, no karma. He is saying, oh, Lord has no janma, no karma. But then he is saying, Na nama rupe guna dosha eva va. Lord has janma and karma, but they are divya. They are divine. They are not ordinary birth. Otherwise, how the Lord appears in this world? He appears. Like, why is his appearance different from our appearance? When he appears with curly locks of hair. We appear with a baldy head. He smiles when he appears. We cry. He is full-blown awareness he has. We are full of forgetfulness. We don't even know who mother, father is, but he knows about his current mother, father, and he tells about 2 previous lives also. Prashni, Sudapa, and Atidhi Kashyapa, and all that he says. And not only that, he has powers, supreme powers. He is telling his father Vasudeva to open the jail and go ahead and take him to Nanda Gokulam. Such things he does, so his birth and activities are all transcendental and divine, unlike our activities. And another he says, Tasmai nama pareshaya brahmane ananta shaktaye arupayo rurupaya nama ascharya karmine. See, his activities are ascharya karmine. Therefore, his activities are not ordinary, he is saying. Ascharya karmine means wonderful activities, which are unimitatable by anybody. He can jump along with Balram from the top of Pravasana mountain 90 miles high. He can do that. He can swallow forest fire. He can lift the Govardhan hill. He can dance on the hoods of 1,000 hooded snake. He can do things like that. Ascharya karmine, very amazing activities. Not only that, Namo Tasmai Nama Pareshaya, Pareshaya means transcendental Lord, Brahmane Ananta Shaktiye, Arupaya. Arupaya means he has no form, he's saying. Ururupaya, he says. Really? Just now you are saying Arupaya, he has no form, then why are you saying Ururupaya? Ururupaya means many, many forms. Is he not contradicting himself? The meaning is, his form is not like your form or my form, but he has many, many transcendental forms, or Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narshinga. He has many forms like that. They are all Satchidananda forms. Now I'll tell you why he speaks like that. For example, if any of you is whispering to your neighbor, when is Prabhuji going to end his lecture? I may not hear you. But Krishna in the spiritual world can hear you whispering. Who is saying what about me? That kind of ear he has. Similarly, our eyes have limitation. We can't see beyond the wall. We can't see beyond a certain range. And his eyes can see even on Amavasya night, a black ant sitting on a black stone. He can see on Amavasya night. Imagine if we are walking on Amavasya night, which is completely pitch dark night. While walking on the road, we can't even see who is the person coming on the opposite side. You go and bump on him and you shout, ah! Either he shouts. Then you see his shining teeth. Then you say, sorry, sorry. Because we can't see. That is our eyes. Our eyes have limitation. So his eyes have no limitation. Our eyes cannot see without aid of a sunlight or moonlight. He can see without any aid of any light. Therefore, his eyes and our eyes are different. His ears and our eyes are different. When he wants to produce a child, he can produce from his navel a lotus and produce a baby. When man wants to produce a child, he needs a woman to impregnate and produce a child. That's another difference. Yeah, wherever he puts his foot, Ahilya comes out when he puts his foot on a stone. So his limbs of his body are not ordinary. Therefore, they are divine. So, yet one should not think this negation of material thing is not an impersonal understanding. There is a positive thing which is different from the negative thing, Prabhupada explains. So, that is one verse by Devatas also in the womb of, when Devatas bring to Krishna in the womb of Yashoda, they are saying, Nanama rupe guna janma karma vir nirupitavye tavatasya sakshinaha manovachobhyam anumeya vatmano deva kriyayam pratyantatapihi. Krishna, your name, form, qualities, pastimes are inestimable by ordinary jivas like us, but we can understand them when we do deva kriyayam, by devotional service. By devotional service, you will open our eyes and make our eyes tinged with salve of love. With that eyes of love, we can understand your activities. Otherwise, no common man can understand your activities. Like that, the demigods are now praying to the Lord. So in this way, that's a verse. Now let's take some discussions. Anybody?
Hare Dandavana, please extend humble obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
This is Kanakabja Das, Radhesyam Prabhu ki jai. Hello, Hare Krishna.
We can hear you, Prabhu.
Voice is breaking a little bit. Dandavat Pranam.
This is Radhesyam Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. This is Kanakabja Das.
Yes, Prabhu. Now sound is coming, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I'm just curious to know about this Gajendra. You said some Gajendra's prayers. It's so wonderful. But how to convince the general public who that as an elephant, Gajendra, how he he has prayed such a wonderful way in this language. How to convince them, how to make them understand this?
First thing we have to make the public understand is they are not the body, they are the spirit soul. That is the ABC. We have to begin from there. If you see the Prabhupada's book, Science of Self-Realization, and if you see the book Coming Back, those are the books I give to new people. And first prove to them what is Jada, what is Chetan, the difference between the two. And convincingly we have to present the Jada Chetan difference. And many of the materialistic people's nose will be cut. They can't explain the difference between Jada and Chetan. If you want, I can explain it in a few minutes. But I know that you all are aware of it very well. But by explaining that very nicely, there are 6 proofs for the presence of the soul in a material body. Should I explain that? And it will take about 3-4 minutes, all right?
I don't know the timing there.
Sure, Prabhu.
Yeah. See, externally you can see in a living body, there is a, perception, mental ability and purposeful action. For example, I'm walking on the road, I can perceive a snake. And then mental activity is mind thinks, oh, the snakes bite and they're dangerous. And purposeful action is I take a stick and beat it. Similarly, if you go to somebody's house, they have a gulab jamun in a vessel. I see that. Immediately, my perception, I see the gulab jamun. Then I think in the mind, gulab jamuns are very sweet, I like it. And then when they tell me to eat it, purposeful action is I pick up a spoon and eat it. So these three activities can only be seen in a living body, not on dead matter. For example, if a snake crawls over a table or a chair, the table chair will not respond at all. Isn't it? If it crawls on our body, immediately we will jump up because we are conscious. So the perception, mental activity, and purposeful action is only in the living body. These are externally observable symptoms. Like Himalayas is standing erect, and there is ocean in the side. Neither can Himalayas see the ocean, nor can ocean see the Himalayas. Two dead entities cannot see each other. Only you will see that conscious person can perceive. So the perception is the capability of conscious entities. So this clearly explains to us what is this robo. Robo is a dead entity. One example I'll tell you. Like recently in Boston, they are making a robo for going to wars like a soldier. And running and jumping and shooting and all that. It can walk through the jungle also. It can walk over water everywhere. Nice facility. But they said that if somebody is able to get the robo hijacked, then it will take a U-turn and come and shoot you only, the person who sent the robo. That is their only problem, if they can hijack it. What do you call it? Cyber, they call it, hijack, they call it? No, cyber, this thing they do, no? Hacking. They do cyber hacking, then the same, that's the main problem now. Because robot doesn't know who is his master. But you will not do that. There are people, one country soldier will go to the neighborhood country, he will die, but he'll never release the truth. Because he has his master, correct now? But robot doesn't know who is his master. Whoever is hacking him is his master. So, and not only that, for example, I keep in my alarm clock. I want to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Now sometimes I get up at 2:50 only, 2:55. I go to the bathroom. Then I hear the alarm clock ringing outside. And all other devotees are disturbed and I can't come out of the bathroom. I'm already taking bath. So half an hour, every 5 minutes, it will harass the people. That goes to show the foolishness of a robot or a machine. On the other hand, you will see, if I told my friend sleeping in the same room, you get me up at 3 o'clock. When he sees me that I am already up and I have gone into the bathroom, light is on. And he will not keep making noise every 5 minutes. Get up, Radhesyam, Prabhu, get up. He will not say that. Because he is a conscious entity. He is not a dead machine. So, in this way, you can clearly see the difference between a living body and a dead matter. Also, living bodies can reproduce. Man and woman can come together and reproduce. Dog and she-dog can come and reproduce. A lion and she-lion can come together and reproduce. But you can never hear of a machine reproducing. You don't hear of a truck and a bus coming together and producing a Maruti car. You don't see that. Machines don't multiply. But you can see that in living bodies can reproduce. And also, where there is Atma present, the body grows. Whereas when Atma is not present, there is only one change, which is dwindling. That's the only change happens in matter. If this table is here, million years, it will just become powder, that's all. Whereas when living Atma is present in the body, it undergoes 6 changes: birth, growth, production of byproducts, maintenance, dwindling, and death. So in this way, we have to systematically explain to the people about the differences between what is Jada and what is Chetan. That's how you should begin. You are talking about explaining about Gajendra Moksha to how will they put faith. Why do you bother about their faith? Truth is truth, reality. People are fools. People are groping in the dark and graduating into nothingness. Who cares about them? You have to present the truth very boldly, confidently, but go from the basics. If you are going to preach to the faithless talking about Gajendra Moksha, then you will commit 9th offense. 9th offense talks about, talking very high advanced things to faithless people. It is like throwing pearls to swine. Swine will smell it, whether it is stool or not. If it is not stool, it will smell it and go away. Why do you throw pearls to swine? You should give knowledge to fitting people. Those who hire you, give them knowledge. Like you all have called me today, so I'm speaking to you. Otherwise, why should we go and give knowledge to atheists and fools and rogues and rascals? Therefore, Prabhupada was very straightforward in presenting the truth. We should go from the basics. I never bring the scripture right in the beginning when I'm speaking to college students also. Scripture comes a little later. First, even with logic and reason, we can smash to dust so many bogus theories they have. So, and then after they are humbled, the nose is cut, then comes scripture. They will understand. Yes. Like for example, to establish the falsity of Darwin's theory, the falsity of Big Bang theory, it doesn't take a big deal. It's not a, similarly to explain about the emptiness of the hollow modern day material civilization doesn't take it a big deal at all. Yeah, all these things should be explained in a crystal clear manner to the new people. And then why do you talk about Gajendra Moksha to a college student, new student? That would be ninth offense. If you are talking about very advanced things, then they will make a laughing stock out of you. Prabhu, is it Kamal Prabhu who asked the question?
Yes.
Yeah. You get my point, what I'm saying?
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah. Actually, you don't talk about Radharani to a new timer. Tell about Radharani's qualities to a new college student who's just coming. That will be ninth offense. Actually, after one has developed a tender faith, pure faith in Krishna and Guru and Vaishnava and has rendered many years of services, then we talk advanced things. Yeah. Anybody else would like to discuss anything else?
Yes, Prabhuji. One quick question, if I can ask.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, I mean, the impersonalism came into the discussion, Prabhu. I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah.
The Bhagavad Gita, I mean, there are many verses. I mean, even from Bhagavad Gita, I mean, forget about Bhagavatam. So, Krishna says, Yoginam apsarvesam and manmana bhavam bhakto bhaktyamam abhijanati. So, I mean, from Prabhupada translations, they make it very clear to us, right? I mean, bhakti is the topmost thing. So, what does the impersonalist comment on those things? I mean, the translations, I never read it, so unfortunately, so the impersonal.
I have read it.
Yeah,
When I was in my school days, I got one economic edition of Bhagavad Gita from Mayavadi. Like, for example, 7.24 says, Avyaktam Vyaktim Apannam Manyate Mama Buddhaya. It says that, if someone thinks I was impersonal before, and now I have become a person in this world, I have assumed a form now, he is unintelligent. Either it says. Correct, no? So, what the Mayavadis do, they translate the verse, and then they don't give any purport. They just give it and they go away. So people who read, many times they skip such verses. They don't read. Like you read 14.27, Brahmano hi patishtaham, he says. I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, he says. Then another verse he says, Bahunam janmanamante jnanam anmam prapadyate. After many, many lifetimes, the searching jnani, he comes to me with the understanding. Vasudeva sarvamiti, Lord Krishna is all that is. Sa Mahatma Sudalava, then he becomes Mahatma. That means I am asking, which is the nose? Somebody else says, this is the nose. I don't believe it. I say, no, I'll find out. I'll figure out nose myself. How? Is it the nose? No, it's not. Is it the nose? No. Is it the nose? No. At last I come, Bahunam janmanamate, nose is here. I find out. After a long time. So that's what jnanis do. So therefore you will find many of these verses, they just give a short translation and they push off. They don't explain it. But when it comes to impersonal sections, that they will dwell a lot on it. They will talk about it. So even Prabhupada quotes Dr. Radhakrishnan in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita, if you see, he quotes this Shadvida Sharanagati, Anukulyasa Sankalpa, Pratikulyasa Varjanam. That verse he quotes along with translation. And later on in the 18th chapter, 64th verse, when he talks about Manmana, and 65, verse number 65, Manmana Bhamat Bhakta, he says, it's not that you have to surrender to Krishna, you have to surrender to the impersonal Brahman, within Krishna, something like that he writes. The Prabhupada says, you only wrote about Sharanagati in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, there he writes. And here he is saying, don't surrender. Are you not contradicting yourself? So Prabhupada challenged that purport, you can see that in his this thing. So therefore you can find that they don't have clarity. If you read Madhusudan Saraswati, he was a hardcore impersonalist. If you go to Google search and put Madhusudan Saraswati, you will see that he was one of the biggest impersonalists in this world, the world has ever seen, and the greatest scholar in Varanasi. Even impersonalists would tremble in front of him. He has defeated many, many people. So he even criticized Shankara's commentary. And he said, Krishnat param kimapi tattvam aham na jane. This is his last word before dying. Krishnat param, better than Krishna, kimapi tattvam aham na jane. I do not know of any truth beyond Krishna. He said that. So he came to the right conclusion. Madhusudan Saraswati. And if you go to the Google search and see how great scholar he was, you will come to see many books he has written, and he is like a hero amongst the impersonalists. So therefore, our Srila Vishwanath Thakur quotes Madhusudan Saraswati in some places, because some of the impersonalists, like Chatush Kumaras, they became personalists. Billumangal Thakur was impersonalist, he became personalist. So you will only hear impersonalist becoming personalist. You never hear about personalist becoming impersonalist. Show me one evidence from Shastra. You will not find it. So which means that people evolve from an impersonal understanding to a personal understanding. Shukadeva Goswami also goes to the forest, and then he heard those 2 verses in glorification of Krishna's mercy and Krishna's beauty. He came back and, he was a Brahman realized jnani before. Then he becomes a realized bhakta. So Shukadeva Goswami, Billumangal Thakur, Chatush Kumaras, like this multiple examples we hear. Then based on all these things, we can arrive at the conclusion that impersonal understanding is one level of understanding, zero understanding. It's negation of the negative. But bhakti understanding is the understanding and realization of the positive. That you can understand. All right, Prabhu?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mataji's Prabhus? Anybody? I think this theme will continue tomorrow in the Bhagavatam also. I think the next verse, it's talking
Last
about...
one more question, Prabhu. Okay, I think Radha Kunji Bihar Prabhu is asking. Okay.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, humble obeisances. All glories to Shri. Thank you for the discourse today morning. Regarding this particular discussion you were having with Lakshmikant Prabhu.
Yes.
Now, if the impersonalists say you don't have to surrender to Krishna, but you definitely have to surrender to the absolute truth. Now, in their opinion, absolute truth is a force, which is not even. So, how can a force accept a living entity to be surrendered?
No, they don't talk of surrender and all. How in the impersonal path, there are 3 stages, Pratibhashika, Vyavaharika, Paramarthika. There are 3 levels. So the Pratibhashika is when you are living in this world, you in the Vyavaharika stage, you come to understand I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. In the Vyavaharika stage. And they also accept that you are Jiva and God is great and you have to surrender. That is only Vyavaharika stage. Vyavaharika means that is a temporary platform where you want to rise by taking help of God. Just like I have a glass of some juice or something. I use a spoon to stir it. Once my job is over, I throw away the spoon. Or I use a staircase to climb up. Once I have climbed up, I kick off the staircase. So that is the Vyavaharika stage. You use some form of God for concentration purpose and meditation purpose. That is Vyavaharika stage. So you have mantra upasana, murti upasana, and mantra, this thing, japa and all that. So when they come to the Paramarthika stage, 3rd stage, they will say that stop the chanting of the mantra, stop the murti puja, and then you realize that you are God. Not that you become God. They say you realize you are God. That is actually the Paramarthika stage, according to them. You are God only ultimately. So, and when, like Prabhupada says that, if you are God, then how you got trapped in this material world, in the material body, and you're suffering, undergoing 3 modes of material nature. They will say that, no, this is a swapana stage, we are in a dreamy state. Once you come out of the dream, you will realize you are only God. This kind of things they will speak. So, like any of us want to know more about this personalism and impersonalism, I would suggest that you can read this book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya by Srila Prabhupada, very thoroughly, especially 2 sections. One is Sarva Bhattacharya and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussion, and Prakashanand Saraswati and Lord Chaitanya discussion. There, all these questions will be clarified there when you come to it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. I can, and if you have the time, I want to ask one more question.
Yes, Prabhuji, sure.
Beginning, you mentioned, that it's very easy to refute Big Bang theory.
Yeah.
So, can you please give a couple of, pointers in that direction?
Yeah. Actually, when we talk about the origin of universe and origin of life, These two are the questions which are unanswerable by science. You all may be knowing that Stephen Hawking was a die-hard atheist. In 2001, Stephen Hawking made a statement that very soon I am going to release a differential equation which can be worn by students in their t-shirts. And this one differential equation and can explain all the functioning of the whole universe, including the origin of the universe. It's called as a gut theory, grand unified theory. So time passed, the people are asking him in 2004, 2007, 2008, he said, I'm still researching. Now 2018, he said that in my research of the universe, I understood that we will never be able to arrive at such an equation. And the good news for scientists is your research will never end. He said, just keep on going on researching more and more, and you will never be able to arrive at such a thing. And the same year, he died also, 2018 now, recently. So this is what Prabhupada calls as a penniless beggar giving you a post-dated check for $10 billion. And he is a first-class beggar because he promised and he failed. And he is well known. Any atheist you meet, you can cut their nose with this. Because these guys only give promise, they don't fulfill the promise. And he has been promising, and the whole world put faith in him, this big atheist, and then he is gone now. Now, if you ask about where does the universe bring from, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Janmad Yasya Yataha. Everything emanates from one personality who is truth. Now, for example, there are a dozen ways you can establish the presence of one supreme God, who is not just a point from which everything has come. For example, your father is conscious. His father. If you go up, you all might have seen your grandfather. Have you seen grandfather's father? You might not have seen. But you know for sure that he must be a conscious person. He is not a stone chunk. And then if you go above also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40 generations. Think about it deeply. It's called cosmological approach. So as you go higher and higher and higher, the source of all your fathers in your line, should it be a stone chunk or a conscious entity? Now you tell me, Ravi Prabhu, yeah? Should be a stone chunk or a conscious entity?
A conscious entity, Prabhuji.
Conscious entity, yeah. If somebody says stone chunk, you should tell him that science means it should be repeatable and observable. Now you repeat and show. Take one stone and produce a grandfather from that. And then show me, then I'll believe you. Scientists cannot do that. They cannot produce one mosquito on their own in the laboratories from a stone. Even cloning has to be done from a living body. Life always comes from life only. There is not one evidence of life coming from matter. So if life doesn't arise from matter, how did all the millions of 8.4 million species have come only from a big bang of some dead stone? It is just not possible. This is called as cosmological proof. Another henological proof means, for every group of living entities anywhere, there is always a master. For example, children studying in a school, they have a principal. And people working in a company, there's a CEO. People living in one state, they have a president. Like United States, for example, there's a president. You will find that. You will never show me one place where there are a group of living entities staying and they don't have a leader. They have no leader at all. Definitely there will be a leader. You will find that everywhere. Now, if such is the case, in this universe we find 8.4 million species of life roaming around. So they must have a leader. How can these living entities function on their own without a leader? Like you go to a hotel, 1,000 employees are working. They have a boss who is giving them salary. Similarly, Yo Vidadati Kaman means we are all living entities, we are dependent on the Lord, and He is providing us facility. Facility for living, drinking water, the sun shines, the cloud showers, the crops grow, the grains fructify, the fruits ripen, the seasons change. So these are all happening around us. Neither are we doing them, nor can we live without them. You will see that. So this is the henological approach, means for a plural subordinate, there has to be a singular supreme at the top. This is the second one. Another one is called a symbiotic proof. What is symbiotic proof? You will see that wherever there is symbiosis, mutual dependence, there has to be somebody above. Say you go to a hotel, you pay money to the hotel, and the hotel waiters give you food. So your money becomes salary for the waiters, and the food that the waiters give you becomes satisfactory to you. But for you both to have mutual dependence, you both are dependent on the owner of the hotel, who starts the hotel. You will see that. Similarly, take a school. The children receive education. Children are dependent on the school for education. Now, if you see, parents now, they pay fee to the school, and the school gives education to the children. It's a symbiotic thing. But above both, there is a principal and owner of the school, you will find. So the mutual dependence, the mutual dependence is made possible by absolute dependence on another great personality above, you'll find. So now in nature also you will see, say for example, the crocodile or the lion eats flesh piece and it sticks on the teeth. So once more, the crocodile will not eat the bird because the bird is a friend. He removes that flesh piece from in between the teeth, makes him comfortable. And then that becomes a food for that small creature, which means they are symbiotically dependent. You might have seen in villages on the bulls or the buffalo's back, there's a bird sitting, and the buffalo or the bull is also happy, relieved of the pain. The ticks. So for them to have mutual dependence in nature, they must be absolutely dependent on one God who has created that mutual dependence between them. Otherwise, such mutual dependence cannot exist. Like I give oxygen, like we give carbon dioxide to the plants, and they give us oxygen in return. So that's a mutual dependence. But for the mutual dependence, somebody has instituted the dependence, and there has to be one supreme. So this is called a symbiotic proof. So we can give dozen proofs like this. For the presence of one supreme. It's not a very difficult thing. Teleological approach means intelligent design. That is the biggest proof, which many scientists have agreed. There is an intelligent design means, for example, here is a watch. There are two questions you can ask. If this watch comes by a seashore from the waves of the ocean, you see that it has got an electronic circuit behind, you know that it is meant for running this clock. So two questions you can ask: where did this watch come from, and who has made the design? These two questions you can ask. There has to be a designer behind the design, and the very existence of the watch is a proof that there has to be a source from where it has come. A chapati is coming out from a kitchen. You see that chapati, where did the flour of the chapati come from? And where did the round circular or the triangular shape of paratha or a chapati? Somebody has designed it, which is your mother. Your mother is a designer of the paratha or the chapati. And the atta, she has made it into flour, and the dough she has made them. So not even a Reynolds pen comes by chance. Not even a chapati comes by chance. What are you talking about? The whole universe coming by chance. It's bluff. Big man. So it's a foolish man's bluff it is. So we can talk. I just spoke about 3 or 4. We can add many more to that. Now we are running out of time now. We will continue tomorrow when we come. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki. Mantra kalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhya patanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta
Thank you so
koti
much, Prabhu.
Vaishnava. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. See you in the evening.
Thank
Hare
you. Hare Krishna.